the entire conception of articulations is pretty new for me, because every time I hear from teachers like do something with your fingers or with your wrist or with your arms, like jumping, like I don't know, putting away like this hot surface, if we play staccato, but this, yes,
like how do you say, so that you burn your finger, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, just like ashparit. And but this conception ties together with singing, and this is why it is so interesting and natural. And when I tried to explain this to my teachers, they when I discovered this, they seem to don't understand me. I don't know why. Because why? No, it's about movements.
Of course, what teachers describe as you burned your finger, it's mostly like as if I would try to describe as an effect, as the result that I get in my sensations in my body when I do something right. But what is the cause of that feeling? So that's the problem. And eventually, yes, when I sing correctly, when I get it all in when it resonates and connects with my muscle memory, eventually, yes, it will be just left in my muscle memory. So when I come to the piano and I need to play staccato, I just play staccato because it's already there. Of course, I would intonate, but 70% is kind of in my muscle memory. So, for example, if I need to sight read something, I sometimes just go and improvise on the spot, and usually it's done with correct sensations. So the idea, yes, I mean, you start singing, you do all of these exercises, you feel it in here, you feel it in your diaphragm, but eventually it's to upload the sensations and the muscle memory, and so eventually the muscle memory will kind of also like trigger your inner sensation. It's a little bit what we're talking about, the imagining sound movement and how it resonates with the physical sensation of the wrist, and that physical sensation would also trigger your imagination, so the circle is complete. The same here. You sing to feel it eventually correctly in your muscle memory, and then just feeling that correctly in muscle memory would create the right sensations. So it's like that. So what teachers say is not wrong. Most of the time, what teachers say, like when you go and we study in higher education, like when we study for a master or doctorate degree, professors are not saying anything wrong, but they're not saying anything incomplete way, and they're just saying it in pieces, and that gives a lot of space for misunderstanding. So the same thing with playing staccato, like you burn your fingers. There is so many interpretations of that. I mean, this is so incredibly vague, and there's so much space for making potential mistakes and for potential misunderstanding. So could you name the 5 main principles that you need to think and remind yourself when you're about to sing any articulation?
Mm-hmm. Okay, first I think we have to remember that this is all articulations are variations of one basic thing, like this is intonation, singing with resistance and weight. And in fact, all types of articulations are variants of this singing, but the only thing that is changing is the speed in the middle of the way from one note to another. in the middle, we're changing the speed, and the amount of these changes the articulations.
Just to be more precise, so in all articulations, if we could imagine that the notes of the interval are point A and B, then the first half of the journey we always sing with resistance and glissando, and according to a certain articulation we will change the second half of the way by bringing more speed or weight, or speed and weight altogether. Okay. So what else? What do you need to remind yourself? What are important things to look?
First of all, like in all other types of exercises with singing and with imagination, we have to keep ourselves doing the sound movement on each note, not to stop.
What is important is not to lose the sound movement on the second note. Because many times, even especially when we think we're singing a short articulation, detached articulation as staccato, and we would sing ah, ah. So as soon as we reach the second note, there's a tendency to lose the tail. So to remind yourself to always, even in staccato, sing and continue singing the sound movement of the second note. Because, again, not because I want so, because if you stop feeling and singing it, then it will also be reflected in the sensation of your wrist, and so if the wrist is gonna lose that movement on the second note, even when playing staccato, it will start playing just vertically, and that will bring tension to the wrist, excessive tension.
Yes, I wanted to ask, this sound movement, especially in staccato, the second note, it may represent maybe the reverberation of the sounds, like playing staccato in the large room, maybe. Not just like and sound dies at
right,
the time,
so
but
to keep
in
the
large
reverb,
room.
right. Yeah, the acoustic, the reverb. Yeah.
Acoustic, yeah. We need to make additional note between singing actual note. For example, the first note is the staccato, and because we achieve this staccato by extremely accelerating to it with our singing, we need starting point that is like out of stage. We start the note like we hear it before the first note, and this is the interesting thing.
So yes, in singing exercises in the book, I emphasize that because we just sing two notes, I emphasize that the first note basically has no articulation in this exercise. It only serves as a preparation, as a point of starting to prepare to the second note. So if you play staccato, if you're gonna sing staccato, so it's all about this second note. That's fine, but if later in the playing exercises I suggest to internally sing additional note, the ghost note that you actually don't play but you internally sing, because that additional note would be the preparation for playing the first note, because in my video of playing exercises I'm actually playing both notes with articulation. So just to note here, again, this ghost, additional ghost that we sing internally in front of the first note that we actually play, again, it's just it serves us as just as a training, because eventually I don't do that. I just go and I just play right away because I already got that. So to summarize, we're always seeing articulations are just a variant of intonation. And in articulations, we always need to have sensation of arm weight. In articulations, we need to remember not to lose the sound movement on the second note, even if it's staccato. And yes, if we wanna play or sing the first note in the interval with articulation as well, just for the initial training, it's good to just imagine a ghost note that is in front of that first note that you're actually gonna vocalize and sing. Because as we understand, all articulations are created in the preparation before we play the note, and that's how we control that note, not after a while. Let's just expand a little bit of, well, we said that articulation is just a variant of intonation. Why? Why do we need to sing that way? Why would we need to sing the first half with resistance and then change speed or amount of weight in the second half of the interval?
I think this is because the resistance helps to prepare for the next note. Resistance turns on muscular tonus to prepare, and this sensation in palm, just fingers becoming ready to hit in the right. It's like a spring. We do a little spring and
well done, like a bow.
Or bow, yeah.
Right. So that singing with resistance, at least half of the interval, it's that initial tension that we create. And then actually, when we let go of the arrow, that actually would be the preparation for the articulation itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. What is important to remember when we actually play articulations? So we talked about, singing that ghost note in front of the first note, if we want to play the first note with articulation as well, but what else?
The main topic, the main thing of the whole system is keeping your hands relaxed, because this readiness is arising here. But in order to achieve this point from your, nerves, through your arm, through your muscles, to here, we need to liberate our hands from blockages, and that's why we need to trust that our relaxed, non-existing hands, and yes, this is a real sensation that is very unusual, because to control something we get used to tense, to control, yes, to fix. Because we have so freedom in our joints, in our muscles, and to make something precise we need to fix in the first place. And this is okay for the first time. We are like the whole thing, the whole stone, we're fixed. But later we can differentiate our parts, differentiate each finger, each joint, and feel like the movement starts from different points in body. It's like I start singing, and at the same time I am starting in parallel mode. I'm starting exerting this soft palm becomes more tense, healthy tense.
I like the word tonus, what you said. It's another definition of what is the differentiation between, what is the difference between healthy and unhealthy tension. Unhealthy is when you tense your whole body, with compulsive tension. Healthy is when you keep your body relaxed and in a breathing mode, but you exert just the muscles and the amount of muscles that is needed to control and produce the sound you want. So that's basically what you're saying.
We'll call this another term, the smart tension, because it's healthy and smart. We can feel each part and intelligent tension. And another thought that rises right now in my mind, it's like polyphonic ear, because polyphonic ear, what is it? This is one source of the sound, another source of the sound. That's why when we exercise this, we sing it without glissando between those notes, because this is not a melody, this is two different sources of the sound. So and then together. And this is like in the body. This is independent source of the movement. This is independent source of the movement. Shoulders, independent source. All the things is like the polyphonic ear, polyphonic body. And this is very liberating. And this provides this control of going with just the right amount of effort. And the singing plays the great part of it, because this is deep inside. This is a literal representation of our soul, because our body deep inside is like a representation of soul. That's why it's like the soul is sounding, the soul is singing through going. And maybe this is why from what this arises effect of non-existing hands, because soul is like weightless. Yes, we are like ethereal creatures that play.
Okay, so coming back to what you said about reminding yourself that hands don't exist because otherwise they're gonna be in the way of directing the energy from here and there to the instrument, like with anything else. But I want to point here, especially it is important when we play staccato or accents. The accent thing, just the idea that as soon as we're prepared, we get that bow enough, and then we let it go with, in accent with speed and weight, and then we reach and we play that note. And right away, we need to release tension in the hand. In my experience of teaching for over 10 years, I can say that this is the hardest thing for students to understand that after I play that accented note, I don't have to press the key anymore, and I don't have to hold that compulsive tension in my body. And so I have to and let go right away, and then again bow goes and you let go of the arrow, and again you don't hold any tension. Instead of and this is such, that's gonna take time, right? I'm telling you right away.
We hit and we're not stuck. It responds. And I don't know the English words. It's like elasticity force, сила упругости, and this boom. It's like waves through body. It's like waves on the surface of the water when something falls
I love
there.
it, and this
freely.
is what many actually our teachers were saying, that wrist has to be flexible, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not loose. Okay, we established that initially it is loose just to let our intention to make it flexible, yeah? But it's the same here, and that's what I mean, this elasticity, what you said. Tension, release, so you could go to tension again. So...
yeah,
exactly.
Breathing.
Mm-hmm. Because again, unhealthy tension is it's not also unhealthy tension, it's not just in constant inhalation in your body, but it's also in constant exhalation in your body. You can actually find it in your daily life as well. When you relax too much, you actually get too tired. It's just this tension release, tension release. We need to completely keep that wave of breathing, and it's the same in singing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
I never thought about when you relax too much you're actually tired, but now I think.
Oh yeah. I can tell right away. So I had graduated students in my life, and the main actually problem why they get depressed after graduation is because before their life was very organized. At least, you know, they were doing something maybe sometimes out of fear, deadline, but it was the good stimuli to do something. The mind was occupied and they had a purpose. Even if it's such a narrow-minded purpose as passing an exam and get validation and approval of your achievement. But now they graduated and they stuck in this limbo, in this vacuum of I don't know what to do with my life. Like, what time do I get up? Okay, the first month it feels, oh cool, I'm so free. But then that freedom actually starts being depressing because you lose motivation to live unless you start constructing it in your own life, coming not from the place of fear anymore, but from the place of what do I actually want to do? And that's the question that students usually never ask. And so the reason they get depressed is because they just lose the motivation to practice because nothing is holding them anymore. So this is talking about the constant relaxation, right? So we need to create that inhale, exhale in our life to go on. Yeah.
Please keep it in the video because this is huge.
I know it is because each of my students had it. And in fact, I would always have this conversation on the last 2 years of their master or doctorate degree, and I would tell them, be careful, start thinking about it right now. Because otherwise, it's just alcohol. It's just alcohol and it's just shrinks and just thinking a lot about things that you don't have to think. Yeah. Let's list 15 types of articulations, and maybe you could even group them.
This is a spectrum of detachedness. Extremely smooth
to extremely
just
detached.
More detached. To extremely detached.
Right. Yeah. That
Let's start from this.
Those.
Let's start from the spectrum of extremely smooth. Legatissimo. Legato, legatissimo. Well, legato is the articulation that is initial feeling of singing with resistance, with going through resistance, complete resistance. And its exaggeration type of legatissimo is when the resistance is so huge that is very huge. So, okay.
So legatissima is singing with very intense resistance. So when we're gonna sing, we're gonna sing even with more intense resistance. Okay. When we play, tell me, how do we play? We play smoothly, but what do? We releasing the key after the next one has been put down. So if for example with legato we just normally connect the notes, then with legatissima we kind of stick a little bit longer. And we hold that note. Let me show just down. So we hold just a little bit longer the first note. We kind of overhold it. Alright, and that will resonate with intense resistance. Yeah, something like that. The thing is, with legatissimo, it's not very common unless, you know, it's really specifically written in the score, and obviously it's usually in Chopin, and he really wanted something very soulful. So it's not, that's why actually in practicing, we're only going to practice most common articulations as legato, detached, non-legato, staccato, tenuto accent, right? Okay, let's go to legato. Again, just a general overall description, how we sing and how we play.
Legato is singing with resistance. Singing with resistance.
And playing smoothly.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next one, the last one. In this group.
Two-note slur. Two-note slur. And this is this is where we need this ghost note before to imagine going, because on the first note in two-note slurs there is an emphasis, a little weight, and after gradual transition to other note through resistance.
Okay, so we're all gonna try all of this, all these articulations today a little bit later. But yes, when we talk about adding the ghost note before the actual two-note slur interval, and connecting, let's say, so if we just need to do this, we add that note. So when we talk about emphasizing the first, that ghost interval more, what I mean is just to bring more energy, more intention, more importance to that interval. It's actually going a little bit further to phrasing, which we'll talk about in book 3. But yeah, that's a good actual initial introduction to motifs and phrases and sentences that we'll talk about later. So when you sing and actually play just and let's say you do the same way, and then instead of playing just like that, you actually feel it and you sing and you play which is much more expressive. Okay, so the two-note slur is amazing tool to actually bring expressiveness to playing. All right, so how do we play it? Well, smoothly. All right, cool. Let's go to non-legato.
We going from extreme smooth playing to more detached, and the first detached but not detached is detached, because detached, as we talked about last lesson, this is playing without gaps between notes but with more crisp attack on each sound.
So we're actually gonna play detached connected, but what's gonna bring that crisp attack to the note?
This is where we introduce the acceleration, and its amounts, different amounts of acceleration.
The nuances of acceleration, the nuances of the speed, because we can accelerate much and we can accelerate just a little
bit. In detached we accelerate not too much, moderate, do moderate acceleration to the next note.
Something like that. Okay. All right. So when we play. So this is not legato. And yet I'm still connecting the notes. But they're more in style if we play Baroque classical music. Okay. Next one.
A little different thing from detached is leggero, and this is almost the same as detached, but acceleration, I guess, a little bit more. Yes?
Okay, so one thing to important that leggero is usually only piano, right? So only usually in soft dynamics, there's no forte, and we still play connected, just like in detached. The difference though between detached and leggero is that we accelerate a little bit more. Let's say we have moderate acceleration, normal acceleration, and extreme acceleration. So detached is moderate, and leggero is just, okay, normal. So if detached, then leggero, and together, combining with the soft approach, this gives you this very light touch. Light, but again crispy. And also sensation that you actually play somewhere here. You're not even pressing the key fully down, which basically also explains leggero. Light, right? Yeah, like all right. So connecting the notes, but normal acceleration in the second half. All right. Next one.
Then we are approaching detached manner of playing, not so detached, moderately detached in non-legato, non-legato, and from three types of acceleration we taking the first most slow acceleration, moderate acceleration.
So moderate acceleration, just like in detached, but the difference between detached and non-legato, we sing the same way, but with detached we play connected, with non-legato we play kind of detached. Alright, so if we're gonna sing this would be detached, this would be non-legato. It gives a little bit more prominent touch. Detached would be non-legato. You see the difference? Okay.
I am saying this is more difficult because I think one more task is added, is releasing the keys. It's releasing the keys. When I tried to do the exercises with non-legato, I noticed that for me it's not so easy to coordinate the moment on when I should release the key. Let go, yeah.
Good question, let me think. basically you start releasing after you start moderately accelerate. It's almost like you release right before you're touching the key. You just basically don't connect the notes. That's the thing, you don't connect the notes. There's difference between having a gap between the neck, between the notes, but it's just disconnected. That's the thing. Because the gap would be it's actually going more like to tenuto, potential tenuto here, if we do too much gap. So the gap is actually minimum. It's just disconnected. When we're going to the next one, which is mezzo staccato, which, by the way, how is it marked in the score, mezzo staccato?
Mezzo staccato, I don't know, maybe I'm so not educated, but usually I thought this is called poco legato. Or no?
Might be the same.
Maybe. So yes, this is a soft staccato with detached playing, but
so
not
in the
so.
score it's written with the slur and the dots and the slur.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
that was the question. The slur and the notes with dots under the slur.
So what's the difference between detached and mezzo staccato? Both of them gonna be sang in the same way, again resistance and moderate acceleration. Detached, non-legato, mezzo staccato, singing the same, but there's a different level of connection, right? So detached connected, non-legato, well, let's say disconnected. Mezzo staccato is actually detached. So mezzo staccato is kind of like, this is where you really have the gap. That's why it's called mezzo staccato, because there is a dot. There is actually a gap between the notes. So even if we sing with moderate acceleration, when we play, there's almost like, if there could be a count 1 and 2, then you make the gap on end. So detached, non-legato, mezzo staccato. Nice.
You do it so virtuosically.
You know, I actually never actually practice really, because you don't really, that's the thing, with mezzo staccato, non-legato, you don't really encounter them in the score too much. I mean, not in romantic music anyway, which I like to play. I'm not into classical or baroque. So. Alright, okay. Next one, we're going to even more detached area, staccato.
Staccato. Staccato is now the middle type of acceleration. The acceleration itself, not extreme, not moderate, but acceleration, and playing detached. And yes,
What's the
this
difference
is
between leggero and staccato? So
it
leggero
can be
and staccato are sang the same way. They are sang with the same normal acceleration. Where, of course, leggero is usually only when we play piano, where staccato could be with different dynamics, but the difference is in playing. Leggero we play connected, staccato we play detached.
Yes, I now I noticed this. Your book, this paragraph is made like fine 10 отличий on those pictures?
Mm-hmm.
What is
Yeah,
different?
yeah.
Find 10 differences.
This is a very good way
gig.
to actually digest all of this, because just like memorizing 15 types of articulation is a bit dull, not interesting, not motivating. But if you actually understand which one will actually sing the same but play differently, or sing actually differently but play the same, you know, that's much more interesting way. Okay, so staccato we sing and we play detached. Could be piano, could be forte. Okay.
So the difference is only in dynamics with leggero.
Well, and the connecting or detached. The gear is connected. This is a stereo staccato. This is your leggera. Mm-hmm.
It looks so
It is effortless.
obscured. So obscured how you do this in fast tempos, those staccato.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Because-
yeah. So it's just you'll get that. Okay, staccatissimo.
Staccatissimo. Detached, but not. It's very detached, and extreme acceleration, fast.
So this is the first
Transition.
time we're actually going to this kind of like a very, very extreme acceleration. Okay, and it's very detached. So if, for example, staccato, then staccatissima, and so when you play very detached, this is staccato, this is staccatissima. Staccato. So staccato a little bit lighter, and then you go staccatissimo. Usually you find staccatissimo in kind of louder parts, actually. I don't think I've ever met those how you call kolushki things in piano. You find it maybe in Prokofiev and Shostakovich. Yeah. Okay. Important, well, since we talk about staccato, so obviously staccato will be intonated differently for different styles. Staccato in Mozart might be different with staccato in Beethoven, and staccato in Chopin, staccato in Liszt. We're talking about the level of sharpness in staccato. And so if you could imagine that every time we increase the acceleration, we increase the sharpness. So the sharper you need to play, let's say, Beethoven staccato and his sonatas, the more acceleration you need to bring to the second half of your interval. Okay? So the less speed, the softer your staccato will be. But these are already nuances, and the same nuances will be with accent, which we'll talk about later. Alright, what are other ways to detach the sound? To disconnect them?
Yeah. So tenuto is going between the notes with moderate acceleration after the halfway and playing detached, but also we include the sensation of weight, of gradual, not gradual, but yes, in the speed of acceleration in weight also as well.
Well, the important thing is that now in Tenuto we're switching from acceleration to bringing more weight in the second half of the articulation. So we still sing the first half with resistance, and then we bring more weight. it's good to bring just a little bit of speed. The main idea is that you bring more weight, so it goes like this. So every note, and you obviously play detached. Always, Tenuto plays detached. Sometimes students start playing Tenuto and they play connected. And I was like, okay, let's just come back to basics. Tenuto is always detached. Okay. If I just say that you bring more weight, sometimes students end up singing this way. And that kind of loses a little bit of this momentum when you actually drop like with a waterfall. And you open the throat like this fully.
Maybe it's like when you're going down the stairs with relaxed legs.
Or with a waterfall, you can imagine.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that waterfall, the main thing is that we are going down. We open the throat deeper like this. We need to experience that. It's not just bringing more weight. It's not just that doesn't give that momentum of. So there is a little bit of acceleration. But the problem is if you put too much acceleration and you go, this is already barking. This is already almost accent, which will.
So acceleration in the speed of gravity, 9.8 meters per second.
Exactly. So it's more like acceleration that you naturally get with a waterfall. No, that's why I'm basically saying yes. Tenuto is singing first half with resistance, second half bring more weight, but there has to be. I feel there has to be a little bit of acceleration.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and now I noticed that when you describe Tenuto in the book, there is no point about acceleration, but on the up of the page you write, and with moderate acceleration, because if not, Tenuto will be missing the sustaining effect. So yes,
Exactly.
a little
So if,
bit acceleration.
Okay, so Tenuto, the first time when we actually think about bringing more weight with a little bit of acceleration, playing always detached. And another variant of Tenuto?
Connected Tenuto or portato.
What's the name? Portato. Okay, portato. How is it marked in the score?
Tenuto under the slur.
Okay, and another?
Oh yes.
Staccato and Tenuto.
Staccato and Tenuto. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those are like I remember when I was young, when I was looking at those, it's like looking at the slurs in Mozart. It's just, I'm frozen in this confusion. It's like how to approach that. And so I compensate with compulsive tension in the body, as we always do. So that was really hard. But yeah, Tenuto slur, we know, and Tenuto staccato, we know that we're going to sing with bringing more weight in the second part, just like with Tenuto, but we're gonna connect the notes. So, but we're connecting. And again, you can ask what's the difference with legatissimo, let's say. Let's try to play this with legatissimo. I think legatissimo is more horizontal.
Yes, there is no this drop of weight. Yes.
Exactly, there's no
legatissimo
stopping.
is equal on the whole way.
All right, okay. So Tenuto and portato, we intonate the same way, where Tenuto always detached and portato we play connected. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, accent.
Barking. Who let the dogs out? Okay. Well, accent is. This is the almost this part of spectrum of extreme acceleration and in combination with weight, because
All right.
it's not just acceleration but this power of weight.
Okay, so basically when we started with legato, it was just about resistance, normal singing. Then in non-legato, we started introducing light acceleration. In staccato, good acceleration. In tenuto, we start introducing weight and maybe sometimes a little bit of acceleration. And now in the accents, it's both extreme weight and extreme acceleration. All in the happening in the second part of the interval. In all those variants of articulations, we always keep resistance in the first part of in the interval.
Interesting how it corresponds with dynamics, because you suggested to play in piano.
Yes, you can play. And there are so many instances where as soon as the students see sforzando on piano, either things goes away. Either it's not played with the attacca or start playing on forte. So to develop actually this ability to play accented but with piano is very important. So in all variants of accent we play very detached, right? That's easy to remember. And there is accents, there is forzando, there is staccato forzato and marcato or martellato.
Those are extreme.
Yeah. So I would say legatissima is on the age of one spectrum and martellato and marcata is on the